Please say the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make us strong in spirit, courageous in action, and gentle of heart. Let us act with wisdom, meeting others with compassion. May we be a source of healing energy and face each day with hope and joy. And may peace be with you.
Need a roll call, please?
Counselor Johnson?
Here.
Counselor Lorenz?
Here.
Counselor Segola?
Here.
Counselor Ellsworth?
Here.
Mayor Becker?
Here.
The quorum is declared.
You have enough time to look at the minutes? Go through them.
And there's no modifications to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any other discussion? Rita?
Counselor Ellsworth?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Counselor Segola?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Mr. Burris,
Yes, sir.
they're on the scheduled appearances and you were there. So you may take the floor, sir.
Okay. So we just wrapped up a large number of events here in the city of Monte Vista, and they're very successful. Begin with our 6th annual Jason McLean Bull Riding School. We saw students come from 4 different states and all over Colorado, so we're very happy to announce that that the school was successful. We had some really good weather. Nobody was hurt seriously, and so that's always a plus. And one of the things that gives us that opportunity to, to provide the best quality school that we can is that we have the resources to do so in terms of working up the arena, getting it get it prepared for not only the animals but also for the riders, and also you have to provide restrooms. And so we work very closely with the Parks and Rec Department of the City of Monte Vista, as well as the Public Works. And so we wanted to show our appreciation because not only they help us with the school, but also with the Spring in the Valley Rodeo Series. And it's mainly turned into kind of a regional rodeo now. We see people come from Gunnison to Barrel Race, and we see bull riders come from Arborlees, and we see, contestants come from outside of the valley 4 weekends in a row here in Monte Vista. And the city provides us with a water truck that really helps us a lot because we're able to keep it right on city ground, and we're able to, use that water truck for the arena preparation and making it the best not only for the spectators but also for the contestants. And so to show our appreciation, we have a plaque here that we'd like to present to Amy. We'd like to say thank you for your generous support and help during the Spring in the Valley 2018 series. Your contributions have helped make this a successful event, and it's presented to the City of Monte Vista Parks and Recreation Department. And so, thank you.
All right.
Yeah. He's always on call. He's always answering his phone when I need him, and so we want to thank everybody with the city. We're proud to also say that on the final day of the Spring in the Valley, we raised over $300 for the Monte Vista Kids Connection.
All right.
Awesome.
And that was by getting the mayor of Alamosa to ride a bull, No, we made sure though that he went riding for the full 8. I'm just joking. I asked Mayor Becker if he would ride a bull so we could have a match between the Mayor of Alamosa and the Mayor of Monte Vista, and he told me that Burris and Sons Bucking Bulls didn't have a bull mean enough for him to ride. So,
No, it says mean, like.
the truth. Mayor Ty Coleman of Alamosa donated $100. Mayor Becker of City of Monte Vista donated $100, and Burris and Sons donated $100. And so we're excited and honored to be able to help out that organization here in town through our events. So
Thank you very much.
Well, we're glad you do that here. We're glad that you've brought that here, and I think it's been a great thing for, I know a lot of young kids that just look forward to that every year, and I think it'll continue to grow.
yeah, we
That's
see
great.
new faces every year, and you don't know who's going to show up unless you provide that opportunity.
That's right.
And it is a unique opportunity, and so we're excited that it was successful. Again, no serious injuries other than a few guys in the open bull riding. But as far as like the events for the children, the mutton busting, calf riding, steer riding, junior bull riding, that all went real well, and they all had fun. I mean, it's not easy out there,
Yeah.
but yet it can be so rewarding too. And anything they learn in the arena of rodeo will help them in anything they go on to do. So, thank you.
That's great.
Appreciate your work.
Appreciate y'all.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Work on that Reno bull next year, will you?
Yeah, I will.
Ready for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Neighborhood Watch T-shirt presentation.
Well, this,
You've seen this.
this is part of Neighborhood Watch, and we're trying to encourage as many people as possible to get the shirt. We're taking a sign-up, I'll pass the sign-up sheet around. It's local. Wayne is going to do the work, and we'll keep it local. At the moment, we don't know exactly how many we're going to order. I want to order 100 at least, maybe 150, maybe 200. Maybe everyone can sort of spread the word around. We want to get the order in as soon as possible into Wayne so that he can do it. We do have a sign-up sheet, and I'm going to start it going this way, so that if you have not already signed up, you can. Now, the design, we took this to the last Neighborhood Watch meeting and had it approved. It's going to be the grey, it's called an ash grey, and it is black on the ash grey. It really looks good. Did everyone notice what that is in the middle?
It's a watchful eye.
The watchful eye.
Magnifying glass.
It's a magnifying glass.
Well,
A spyglass with the community and crime prevention begins at home. So, I hope you like the design. We're not changing it. We're not changing it. The colour is decided. You have no choice. But if you would like, $10 a shirt. Okay, and on that shirt, on that list going around, there's small, medium, large, and then the larger sizes. The oversized ones are $2 extra, and then there's a children's one behind that sheet. So children can be signed up too. Next Neighbourhood Watch meeting is the 18th of this month, and that's when we will decide the number and how many we need to order.
Well, and also, this is for the whole county. Some people
Yes.
think that it's just the city of Monte Vista, but it's not. It includes the whole county. So if you live in the county and you like the t-shirt, you want one, we want you to have one.
I don't know whether it's not too late for us to sort of Monte Vista and county sort of just gets a little cumbersome. So, you know, if there are any suggestions, it is not too late to make some modifications. Not change the design, modifications.
And we are doing these locally with Linda
Yeah.
General.
So, okay, any questions?
Very nice.
Any?
Thank
Okay.
you for doing that.
Thank you. Well, we want to get as many as possible involved, and in our neighborhood, get people up and down, so that as many as possible have the shirts for our National Night Out, which is August the 7th, and we'll have the shirts then as well. If we've got any extras left over, we can sell them at National Night Out.
Oh,
Victor, this way. Then we'll pass it.
I can pass it.
sorry,
I can design, but that's okay.
You,
I was gonna mess with the design, but that's okay, we'll talk about it.
well, let me,
I was gonna modify, I wasn't gonna change, I was gonna modify.
why don't you jot down any suggestions on there?
Okay, let me-
Is there anyone else who'd like to, anyone else like to add something? Notice the sizes, and there's the sizes over the page, go to extra large.
Forrest, could you explain this resolution?
Did we get there
I have
already?
a citizen comment.
Oh, yeah. You have a citizen. I'm sorry. Okay, do you want to be a citizen?
No, can I do it from here, do I have to go up there?
Just a minute, sir.
I was asked to make a citizen comment. And as you all know, John Kapiniski was on Facebook and he was upset about the weeds down Morris and all the wind and all the stuff. And so my suggestion to him was to come to a council meeting or send an email to Forrest or Rob and talk to Jeff about doing some ticketing or watching that area better. And much to his surprise and maybe a little chagrin, but he was thrilled, you guys showed up the very next day with your tractors and your loaders, and I don't know, Rob's not here, I'll talk to you. You showed up with your tractors and your loaders and everybody, he was absolutely thrilled. He did a video and put it on Facebook on the Monte Vista community site. And he just wanted me to tell you a very, very huge and grateful thank you. And I, as a citizen, am so happy to see those positive things on all the social media. We had gotten into this miasma of really negative comments and saying ugly things. And that was, we're beginning to come out of that. I see lots of really good positive things, and the city had a lot of very good comments. So tell Rob thank you, and a special thank you to Forrest. I think you were tagged in that, and you, I'm sure, had a lot to do with making that happen. So they cleaned up the alley, and they said it's gorgeous and it looks wonderful, and we'll patrol it a little better and make sure people don't dump their grass clippings there. And so that's from John Kapiniski.
So if there's any other citizens that want to have a comment before you get up, Forrest, I'm sorry, I put right through that one. Still learning. If anybody else has a comment? Forrest, would you please?
Going once, going twice.
3 times. Sold.
Evening, Mayor, councilors. Brought a bunch of stuff up here. I'll just stand up here for a while. Okay, so Resolution 07-2018, what is this about? So at the end of every fiscal year, there's always some housekeeping that has to be done. And in this particular case, there were a number of things that, as Debbie Phillips was doing the interim finance director work, we'll talk about the year-end finances a little bit later, a couple things came up that we had not, that they were either in grant funds. So in the airport grant fund, we actually had not anticipated spending money in the 2017 budget. And these were grant funds, which were reimbursed for. And really, if you recall, the airport project was 2 years ago, and there was this little tag-in piece of it that was like, basically a contractor hadn't billed us for. A consultant actually hadn't billed us for, so we finally got the bill last year and we paid that. And of course it wasn't budgeted because it was supposed to be done. So that is the budget adjustment. You can see there's revenues and expenditure there. In the GOCO grant fund, we had a lot more activity. There was kind of a little hiatus in the Faith Hinckley Memorial Park project. And we actually had anticipated that we would be spending that money this year. And once again, that's pass-through money. There's a grant revenue that comes in, and there's expenditure of money that goes out. So what this resolution does is tidies that up for the auditors. The third thing is the Valley 3 Fund, and at one point last year, the city actually started doing their bookkeeping. It had been done by the community fund. We took that on. It wasn't budgeted to do it. And it's all in and out, right? So we still do their payroll at this point, but we're also doing all their ticketing receipts, filing their tax returns, etc. So all that was, billable, if you will, back to them. And so we had a revenue of $65,000 with an expense to match that. And that fund, which is actually the Valley 3 Fund, is Fund 50. But Fund 50 wasn't in the budget at all because we hadn't actually planned on doing that. So we created a fund to do that, and so this corrects that, so that's in there and makes the auditor happy. It did appear in the general fund. Excuse me. But in any case, this cleans this up for the auditors. And then the only other piece of that was in the Kids Connection Fund, which is a separate fund from the general fund. They had a slight change in their grant revenues. So what that meant is that we had to make a general fund transfer to that fund to cover up the shortage. And we anticipate yearly that we do fund part of Kids Connection's operations. So they have three sources of funding: the city's transfers from the general fund, TANF funds, I don't think they call them TANF anymore, but that's what they are, and then donations. And so the donations were a little short last year, and so basically we had to add $15,000 from the general fund and to put that in the Kids Connection Fund. I will, and by the way, Anika is on for a report tonight. She won't be here, she had something come up. But we'll substitute the city clerk has a report to do, so there's a little note that we kind of missed the amendments. So in any case, this is really financial housekeeping, getting stuff in order for the auditors who will be here, let's see, week after next, 2 or 3 weeks from now, the auditors will actually be here. So this was part of a conversation between Debbie Phillips and the auditors and myself, and so it's really just housekeeping. Normally, we would do this, my preference is to do this in December, and we will do this in December this year. But as you know, we had a few things going on and that didn't get done. And a lot of municipalities do it in January. The law allows you to do it anytime before your audit. So we haven't had our audit yet, so anyway, we're asking council to pass this resolution to tidy that up.
I have a question. On the Valley 3 page and the GOCO page and the Kids Connection, it says interest and miscellaneous. And what is interest and miscellaneous? Or can you be more specific?
I can try to. Let's look in the Valley 3 fund. So,
It's 1,500. It's interest and miscellaneous.
in the Valley 3 fund?
Mhm.
In this resolution? Sorry.
Yep, the one I got last night. It was in my,
Yeah.
I printed it.
Oh, you're in the financial statements, Kathy.
Oh, shame on me.
I'm going, wait, in this resolution?
Okay, that's why I'm not seeing it. I thought, where did it go?
Well, I'll go ahead and answer that question.
Okay.
So, interest is actually interest. So say if there was part of the funds invested, and then miscellaneous, so we have all these lovely account codes that the accountants like. And sometimes you have a revenue, so the interest in miscellaneous is usually a revenue line item. And so there was something where they got a revenue that didn't get classified when it came in as income.
Okay.
Because they have miscellaneous donations, they've got these other things.
Are they donations? That's what I
Yeah,
was wondering.
usually they're donations
Okay.
or they're some, like an in-kind, or they get donated products, you know?
Okay.
Your Kids Connection, you can have this. And so they have a cash value, but they don't have, but they're not cash. So, you know, they get valued, so it's miscellaneous kind of revenue.
I kind of figured there were donations, but I was just curious.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know, a lovely accounting thing, but mostly it's interest.
Okay. Very good.
That was a good curveball. It's like, this was.
Sorry.
No, that's
Sorry.
okay.
So we just need a motion.
Pass resolution.
Yes, please.
I move that we pass the resolution 07-2018, approving an amended budget and appropriation of funds for the calendar year 2017 to amend the Kids Connection Fund and authorize expenditures and revenues for the Airport Grant Fund, GOCO Grant Fund, and the Valley 3 Fund.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded to pass resolution 07-2018. Is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Hi.
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Ellithorpe?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
You still in the hot seat?
Oh, yes, sir. I'll be here for a while. So this item, in the 2018 budget, there is, within the council's expenditures, a line item of $7,000, $2,000 of which is designated in the budget for Tri-County Senior Citizens and Housing, Inc. And this is generally an annual appropriation of $2,000, helps them pay for the insurance on their transportation activities. So, you know, they provide transportation and this helps them pay their insurance bill, and so, at least as long as I've been here, it used to be a separate line item, but we combined those. And so it's $2,000 expense, and obviously we request the council approve giving them those funds tonight.
And this wasn't in the budget.
No, this isn't the budget, sir.
It is in the budget.
Yeah, it's in the council's budget, there is basically discretionary appropriations of, I think it's $7,000, and this is in that. So it is a budgeted expense.
I would move that we approve the Tri-County Senior Citizens and Housing Incorporated release of funds for the insurance bill, budget amount of $2,000.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Tri-County Senior Citizen and Housing release of funds for the insurance bill budget amount at $2,000. Is there any other discussion? Nita?
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Ellithorpe?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Ready for your next report?
Yes, sir.
Carry on, sir.
All right, thank you. Unaudited financial statements. So you have in your packet this evening the financial summary as of December 31st, 2017. These are not audited financials. The audit will take place at the end of June, and then we'll comply with our submission deadline to the state, which is the end of July. The auditors, who we've had before, is quite confident that we'll meet that deadline. If not, we can get a minor extension. So I'll hit a few highlights in here. There are, if you're looking particularly at the general fund, one shining light in there is that total revenues in the general fund were at 99% of the approved budget for last year, which is pretty good performance. The largest source of that revenue is tax revenues and governmental revenues of $1.772 million and $675,989 respectively. So we took a conservative approach to our sales tax revenues and our property tax revenues, and we hit the mark, so that's always good. Interestingly enough, and I think you all see that we have some new business activity and things seem to be picking up, and we used the same budget number this year. So that's a good thing. I think we'll hit it again this year. We'll probably do better than that. So that's good news. Overall, you'll see the performance of the city that we underspent our budget pretty much across the board. The big part under the general fund is that revenues exceeded expenditures by $146,357, which increased the general fund balance to $607,191. Now, when I went through these, and Debbie's been working part-time, there is one expenditure which wasn't recorded against this balance that I can see, and that was our election expense of $8,000, and that'll have to get booked in there, so that will reduce that 146 to 138 and change. So that's good. That is good news. Bad news on the election expense thing. What was that total bill, Nita?
$15,000.
Yeah, so, the county went to the mail-out ballot stuff. This process, there's no voting booths, et cetera, which, is more efficient, but, and this was a combined election, apparently it's more costly. So our share of the election was $13,000. Now, we did budget for an election this year, so basically $8,000 will be appropriated to last year's budget for this expense, and then the remainder will go to this year's budget of $8,000. So that's just a note, if we have a special election, it'll basically be the same process, and I don't know exactly what our cost will be, but it'll probably be in that, you're not printing as much and everything else, but it's certainly going to exceed what we generally have a placeholder for $8,000. So that's what we have in this year's budget, and it's just kind of a thought about elections, that they do cost more than they used to, and that cost is passed on. If somebody brings a petition or something, that doesn't cost them any money. It costs the city money, and that's fine, that's the way it is, but the cost is going up for that. Ours will be proportionally less somewhat, but it's certainly going to be more than $8,000. So we made a note, both Nita and I, in our budget books for next year. And we do budget for that every year. Why? Because under our referendum process, somebody can bring a referendum for an election, and basically there's another number of avenues there, but usually end up having the election, and that, I'm going to guess, at least $10,000. So our operating cash budget in general fund also has increased to about $161,236, which is good. It's not as robust as we'd like it to be. 3 years ago, we, and this is cash, which is kind of different than our basic accounting method, but our cash levels were pretty low. We'd have $10,000 or $15,000, revenues come in, expenditures happen, and we kind of had $15,000 sitting there for a while, and that's a little slim. So overall, we have healthy cash balances in both the water and sewer funds. Revenues in the water look pretty good. The sewer revenues did not look as good this year. And we kind of need to look at that. Expenditures also were up a little bit in sewer, and part of that's related to our sewer projects. We have 50% grant on that. We also have a loan, so part of the cost is servicing loan. When you get a loan from the state for this kind of activity, the loan payments start when you get the loan, kind of like a car loan. I'm used to a different system in another state where when your project gets done, you start making payments. But that's not the way it works in Colorado. You get a loan and you start making payments immediately. So anyway, if you all have any specific questions about what's in here, let me know. I can try to answer them. Most of them I probably know. Gary?
Yeah, just a clarification, I'm sure I just missed something here, but we had the election increased the expenditures by 8,000, which our overage went from 146 down to 138, but then that became 13,000.
Well, what we did is we split the expense. So we got the bill actually in April. Is that April, Nina?
Yes.
So we got the bill in April, in the November election. And because at that point we had not actually closed out our books, I coded $8,000 expense to 2017 and the remainder to 2018.
Okay, so the total bill came to 13,000.
Right, so
Obviously, what
$5,000.
we're doing is budgeting 8,000 pretty much every
Right.
year.
Right,
And
we
it
just
looks
need
like
to-
it's coming out more than that, pretty much.
Well, it will be in the future. In the
Yeah.
past, it wasn't. I think the last time we did a combined, it cost us about $7,900. Hence the 8,000, and we just used up 5,000 of our 8,000 for this year. So,
Okay,
yeah.
expensive.
Yes, elections are expensive, so. Don't know if you all have any other questions. If you have questions, when you digest this farther.
Answered my
Well,
question.
yours was a good question, so, but if you do have them as they go along, feel free to call me, email me, and we'll get back to you. I think I did let you all know that we have hired a finance director. We'll be starting on the 18th. Debbie will be in to help with the audit and do some training with the finance director, and I'm looking forward to having you on board. So that should be good. I
So
think
we need
that's-
to approve that?
You can move to accept the unaudited FY 2017 financial statements.
And then do we re-accept the audited ones after the audit
Yes.
is finished?
Well, I move that we accept the proposed unaudited financial summary statement as of December 31, 2017.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. More discussion? You got it?
Counselor Segala?
Aye.
Counselor Ellsworth?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest.
Thank you.
And now you-
Here I am again.
How about a staff, city manager report now?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be happy to do that. So, in your packet, you actually had my regular city council report, which pretty much covered, we covered the main items there. You did get a copy of the strategic action plan, which is now completed. And we hope to start working on that right away with staff. Got a meeting week after next with my management team, and we'll start parsing out the responsibilities. You know, on the Sky High, review by the engineers, we should have that report early next week. And it'll let us know if we can continue to use it for some period of time or not. So, you know, fingers crossed that we can use it for a couple more years while we get a bigger project going there. So, to illuminate as well on the alley issues west of Morris Street. So, two issues going on there. One was this kind of massive illegal dumping of grass clippings and pieces of sod and limbs and all that stuff. And, you know, I think it was kind of fortunate and a big round of applause for the Public Works crew. You know, they went over to assess it. Lowell, who's the street supervisor, was over there, and they kind of said, hey, we have a window. They kind of are really booked up next week, and actually I responded to Campbell and I said, we'll get to it within the next couple of weeks for sure. And we had a window, and those guys got over and got after it, and that was great. So the other issue we're having in that alley is traffic. Not this week so much since it's being worked on in the middle, but one of the things we're going to do, if you're familiar with that, there's this old gate on the south end of the alley. It's kind of beat up. I'm not even sure how it got there, but it's on a city alley. And so we're going to refurbish that, and we'll probably, we'll give notice to the residences. They can still get to the back of their homes from the intervening streets. We'll probably close that down for a couple weeks. Because really what we're seeing is a traffic pattern of people coming off of Lariat. And, you know, actually, the timing of this was interesting because I had two citizens from Moore Street in my office in the same day talking about this issue of traffic. So we're going to close that off for a couple of weeks. We'll let the residents know. It shouldn't cause them any inconvenience. But that's not a street, it's an alley. You know, there's, Morris is right there. And there's only one stop sign on, you know, in the middle of it. So hopefully we can re-habituate people to use that rather than the alley. You know, to me, going northbound and then trying to make that turn out of that alley on a 160, particularly this time of year, is a challenge. So anyway, that is our plan for that, and we will let the residents know. We'll probably put a notice in the newspaper and on Facebook and everything that says, hey, this alley is going to be closed at this end for however long it takes. And there really are some safety issues there. One gentleman's like, I almost got run over. So you're like, okay. And the vehicles are going fast.
Very fast.
Yeah.
Because there's no stop signs.
Right, yeah, it's a straight shot, so,
Yeah.
and we don't usually put stop signs in alleys, so we'll
That's
try
right.
this for a while and hopefully redirect people's energies. Also, I really want to compliment the Public Works staff. You all probably don't know about this because this is something that happened, but last Friday morning, I was in the office and the police chief came over and he said, hey, have you seen the roof? I was thinking, what roof are you talking about, et cetera. He goes, you need to come see it. So apparently sometime Thursday night or early Friday morning, there was a big windstorm or a gust or a microburst or something, and it literally took that roof on the northeast corner and peeled it back. Metal roof, just peeled it back. So there it is, it's 10:30 Friday morning, and you know, the crews generally get off at 11:30. And I got Lowell Bolt, who's the street supervisor, and Bob Beta, who's our water guru. And they rounded up a crew of guys and they got right after it and patched it enough because for once the weather people were right and I felt like they're gonna be right. It said 100% chance of rain on Sunday and that came true. And that's over 2 of our records rooms, so that could have been a problem. So they got it sealed up well, we didn't get any water damage from the rain. And, you know, we submitted an insurance claim, and of course, when the roofer was here, y'all remember those big winds we had? So, who could forget, right? So, also the roof on the south end, which is where I would expect it to have problems, is actually the metal roofing is separating from the decking. And of course, the roofer is like, do you see those screws? They're way too short, and you know, all this, which, gotta buy that. I don't know how old that roof is. We did have it resealed 2 years ago. It used to leak right above where Jeff's sitting. And I was like, well, okay, so we got that fixed. The roofer did a good job. So got a bid to fix the roof. We sent it off to insurance for a claim, and hopefully most of it should be covered. So that will be coming on, but I really appreciated the Public Works guys got right after it, and we're kind of innovative, and they actually got the metal to bend back. I wish I'd been able to watch that part, but made a nice job, so appreciated that. And then, excuse me, see us standing here too long, talking too much. Pardon me. So as far as the update on the Monte Vista Urban Renewal Authority, had some people ask about that. So essentially, at the May meeting, the URA designated about a dozen properties to look at for the demolition program or the acquisition rehab resale program. And as you recall, maybe the funds that we have for this program are CDBG pass-through funds, which are great, except that they have lots and lots of bells and whistles and hoops to jump through. And one of the requirements is that every property that we look at, when we send a letter of interest to the property owner, we have to have a market analysis of the property for value. Can't just go off the assessor sheets. You know, the feds require fair market value. So we have someone working on that. We have a meeting next Tuesday, and we should have those values in for that. And once we have that, we've got these letters that have this form that's required by the state, the feds, but we've got them all set up, ready to go. As soon as we get the values, we'll plug them in, and then we'll start contacting property owners. Interestingly enough, just as a sidebar, a couple of the properties that we have had interest in have undergone changes of ownership and changes in what's going on with them. And one of the properties, a lady called me last week and said, hey, you know, we're probably gonna buy that property and tear down the dilapidated building. It's like, yay. So that probably won't fit in our program. I think that's gonna happen. We had another property where I was talking to the adjacent property owner last fall, and they were doing a sidewalk, and they said, well, you know, we'd really like to buy this property, and I said, I'm pretty sure it has tax liens, maybe go check it out. And I'm pretty sure that now is, you know, the tax lien process, I just went through this whole thing with a couple of customers this week, how that works. But anyway, it's a 3-year process. You get tax certificates after 3 years. If they're not redeemed, then you actually get the property. And another property that's been on our radar as well, that got, a gentleman has been paying the tax liens on, and he should have the deeds today. So we had a discussion about the needs of that property and what needed to be done on it, and it's actually not a real terrible one, but it should become a rental property, and it'll be great for the neighborhood it's in. So it's kind of interesting that as this is going along, we're seeing interest in people doing things with buildings, and so that's kind of exciting too. It'd be great if they worked the URA out of a job. I don't think there's much chance of that, but it would be pretty cool. So anyway, I just wanted to update you on that this evening, and I think with that, if you have any questions, I'll take them, and otherwise, that's probably all I have.
Just one quick question for me. Did the grant get turned in?
No. It did not get turned in. And we are resolving that issue.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, thanks.
Thank you for it.
Mr. Trujillo.
Oh, thank you. Sorry I was running a little bit late. I had a long-winded judge. Unfortunately, I had more control over me at that point than I could do. But Mayor and Council, thank you. I don't have too much really earth-shattering news here, but basically just working with Forrest and a few hitches here and there, and a little bit of looking at agreements, trying to get things squared away. And so we're pretty busy in handling those kind of things, and we work with Nita all the time at this point, and so they've both been really, really good to work with, and so I appreciate that. Gonna start working a little bit more, I think, with the police as I'm getting more involved in the court system, and had a chance to work with a few of the officers, and so far everything has been working very well. Did talk to the judge. We had some trials set last court session, and so I've got her to run a little different procedure where we set things, instead of setting things as a trial, somebody comes in and pleads not guilty, she'll normally set a trial, and you may have 3 or 4 trials set for a day, and I guess that's good to get them resolved if you can, but what I've asked her to do is start setting pre-trials instead of trials, because a lot of the cases when folks get ready to see the whites of the eyes of the judge or myself, they figure out, well, let's just figure out how to resolve it and I'll pay a fine and go home. But if you set it for a trial, now you've had to drag witnesses in and subpoena them, you've had to drag officers in, and so you might have 3 or 4 officers sitting around and maybe it's their day off, or you lose a lot of time. That's probably a little bit inefficient. So anyway, I've asked the judge to kind of set things for pretrial. She thought that was a good idea, and I think Nita does too. And that will alleviate a lot of officer downtime, witnesses having to be drug in, and chances are we're going to resolve most of them, and so far that's the way it's been going. So it's going to streamline things a little bit better, probably lessen our expenses from having officers have to go and kind of wait around and that kind of thing. So, but from what I can tell, and as my experience, I mean, things are going well in the city courts. It's and I don't know if Kathy was aware, but we had kind of decriminalized the program, the courts, so that if anything gets real serious, it'll go to county court, and therefore the town doesn't have maybe a lot of cost for jail time. And unless I ask for jail time, the court can proceed on the basis that there won't be any, and so she can impose a fine and go on about our business type of thing. So it streamlines the system, and I think it makes it more efficient, more profitable, and things move along a lot quicker. I think we've got it fairly efficient, so you don't have hundreds of people showing up like in the past, and it would just be complete chaos. So a little bit more efficient, and things I think are going pretty well in that respect. Other than that, I really don't have anything unless the council or mayor would have any questions, but as I see, things are going pretty well. So.
That's really good.
I actually have one question about what you were just referring to with the judge and the decriminalizing, and that I don't think we've heard from a report from the judge about that, but just from what you've said, it sounds like that process, I know it started off extremely good, so apparently that process is working out to the point of being able to process more offenders and getting an alternative sentencing and all of that is still
Right.
functioning very smoothly, it sounds like.
Very smoothly, it's going, I think, very well, and you know, typically if somebody gets a ticket, they either want to pay a fine and go about their business as a general proposition. And I think the judge is actually imposing some community service, maybe with Parks and Rec. Some of the folks are doing some of those things, so if they don't have the money, some of that stuff, they do community service. So, but I think it's really going to get more and more streamlined as we go, and I think more efficient, and we don't have the expense of if somebody thought they were gonna end up with jail time, you had to appoint defense counsel. And so you spend $700 on hiring a lawyer and you get a $100 fine. Not very efficient. So I think the way I'm seeing it, and the way I think the judge is seeing it, we're going, kind of moving things along, and everybody, I think, is doing a great job, so.
Okay.
All right.
I have one question.
Okay.
I talked to Forrest about it, and several people from the community have mentioned it, and that's the pickleball basketball courts over at Marsh Park. And they were resurfaced, and within 6 months started falling apart.
And honestly, Counselor, Mike and I, we had that
Talked about
discussion,
that.
and Mike and I haven't had that discussion yet. so,
Okay.
I'll get him up to speed on that next
Okay.
week and see if we can get that fired up again.
Yeah, because I know Parks and Rec has had questions, and,
Yeah.
okay,
I'll see what I can find out.
thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could we let Mr. Hurtado go next? He has to go, has a sports activity for the city here in a little bit in Alamosa, so we could let him. And then Anita, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a report too?
Alright, well, I know I haven't been here for the last meetings, or 4, something like that.
4.5, we're counting.
Okay, so, and then I get picky and I wanna come ahead of everybody else, but, like Forrest said, I have other activities that I need to attend, so. I don't have much of my report, although I missed like 3 meetings, but I'm just gonna give you a short, kinda brief of what's going on. Since, the first meeting I started missing is because we were doing basketball season for adults, and we had soccer, Pee-wee soccer at that time. So it was just back and forth through the 2 events happening, and I mean, we finished successfully. The adult league, like I mentioned, we had more teams than we had last year, and so we actually have 6 more teams than what we did last year. And to be able to fit all those games into one gym, it was pretty tough, but we did it, and I'm just looking to see what's going to look like next year. For what I hear, more teams want to start coming into Monte Vista and play. We just need the facilities again, so, but that's a good thing. I guess that's a good problem to have. With the youth soccer program, we had hosted the tournaments here in Monte Vista in Saturday, May 12th. We did them right here at the Chapman Park. Monte Vista teams ended up taking 2nd place for the 3rd and 4th grade, and unfortunately the 5th and 7th didn't qualify for the tournaments, but they tried hard and they did good. Right now we're in baseball season. We just started last week. We have 2 T-ball teams with about 9 to 10 kids each. We have 2 machine pitch. Before it was coach pitch, now we switched to machine pitch. Every year all the directors get together, or monthly we get together, but every year we kind of get together and look at the whole season kind of thing. And we see what can we do to improve our kids in sports. How can we improve them? How can we make them better and get them ready for the next step, which is middle school, high school. And we were seeing a lack of on the coach pitch to where the kids were not swinging the bat. They were not ready to, they're still being afraid by getting hit by the pitcher, or the coach not be able to get it right in the strike zone. So we switched it to machine pitch, which we had to make an expense on buying those machines, but I think is the time decreased. We were spending about 2.5 hours, in a game for that age group, and now it's reducing it to the most an hour and 20 minutes. And so, and the kids are swinging. We encourage them, if you don't swing, you're gonna strike out, you're gonna sit on the bench. So now they're swinging and actually hitting the ball, and I think it's good, So we also had one team we actually end up with 2 teams for fast pitch, and that's the more advanced group. That's the ones that we really focus as far as, you know, getting and preparing them for the middle school level. The girls softball, we have 2 divisions. We have the 9 and 10-year-olds and then the 11 and 13. But usually we never get enough 9 to 10, and so we end up combining them with the 11 and 13. Of course, it's with the parents' concern, approval. And we end up with 1 team with 16 girls. And so this baseball program will go all the way through July, I think the middle of July. I think the tournaments, we host the tournaments here in Monte Vista, July 14th or 21st. And so, let's see, we talk about adult basketball, community events. There's a bunch of things that I have in my list of things that I want to do and that I want to bring into the community. One is the paintball, and I have talked to Forrest about this, and right now I'm just looking and still working with the rules and regulations for insurance purposes, so requested through the insurance. And so once I get that together and more to the point to where we need to do, I would like to have the paintball tournament or league right behind the Sky High. And you know, other sports that the community kind of requests, like the frisbee golf and flag football and even fast pitch, adult fast pitch. So still working on that, see how we can fit it in. We're also going to have the Rocky Skills Challenge for the youth. It's going to be, well, we had it planned out for Saturday, but because other events just kind of got in our way, unexpected events came up. One of my staff members just recently, his wife had a baby, so he's going to be gone. And then the other one has another event in Alamosa that she had compromised, so we end up moving it to Sunday. We're going to be at the softball fields on Sunday from 4 to 6. I'm calculating about 2 hours, but we'll be there. And this is for ages 4 to 12 years old, and then it's boys and girls. Sky High, I think we all kind of crossing our fingers there. About the Sky High, it's been out of service I think since April, and so, but just because of that, it's kind of closed. We're still using, you know, like the rodeo grounds, and then the lot right there in the corner. I think we hosted the Nissan Cell event not too long ago. They usually use the Sky High, they set up inside, but told them that, and they had no problem with setting up in the corner, so we work around and we try to accommodate as much as we can. And actually I didn't expect this, I think that was pretty cool. Other projects going on or events that are happening. In the past, you guys know that we had a group of individuals and sponsors to do the LED marquee for the Sky High, and we had to put that on hold just because of the issues with the Sky High. And I know that the crew, Robert's crew, got busy with all of that, and they're the ones that were going to set him up. And so I had to let him do what they needed to do to take care of that, and so we put that on hold. And excuse me, what did you do to this face right here? And so I've been bad about not communicating with the sponsors, so I need to get that and send an email at least to let them know what's going on. I'm pretty sure they're wondering what's going on. We have the marquee, we have the sign with the sponsors on it and everything. We were waiting for the crew to get those things that they have planned out, and I think they're gonna start next week, they said, to start working on putting them up and getting it ready. I also attend a lot of meetings from different groups, just to mention a few, like the agriculture, the recreation meetings with the other directors, CTC, RGPP, key leaders, and our department of recreation is still very closely and working closely with Rio Grande Public Health Prevention Partners. And because of that, they did a small donation, appreciation donation to the department of $2,000 for our involvement and participation support with them. And so that was unexpected again, and I think that's some money that we can use towards our programs, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Also, I had applied for a small grant, I think at the beginning of the year, and we finally got it. And it's only $2,500, but $2,500 that we can use to, my plan is to fix the dugouts over at the softball fields. As you know, there's an individual that goes into the place because it's open, so anybody can go in there anytime, during day and night, and it just, things happens there that is not safe for our kids, and so I would like to spend that money to lock him up, close him, and so that people don't go in there and do those things that, just for the safety of the kids. And my new project, and still working on that proposal, is to find sponsors to help me purchase 2 scoreboards for our softball fields. We haven't had any scoreboards at the softball fields for about 5 or 6 years now. And so, you know, I was with those flip-up numbers and stuff like that, and it's just tough to have the guys keep score, flip the number and stuff like that. So I was looking at prices, and I think I found 2 that are good prices, and I think that, again, with the support of the community, if we can do it, we can purchase it and hopefully get in by next year. I think that's all I have on my report. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, or anything that you guys want to know about.
How much do you think those scoreboards are gonna run?
I'm calculating each scoreboard, the one that I was looking at is, I think it's 3,000, or, no, I'm like, 2,500 each, I think. Mhm. And that's just something like in between. I mean, there's some that are about 1,500, but we have to keep a pitch count for the kids to save the arm, and so that scoreboard keeps a pitch count of every pitcher.
More detailed.
And so it's easier for them to keep, you know, to keep that count instead of writing it. So, and once I have that more in detail, I'll bring pictures and I'll bring the proposal to you guys so you guys can review and see it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say I appreciate all the work you've been doing, all the variety of activities that you've been able to bring together and bringing in. You've done a great job with bringing the participants in, from adults down to T-ball, and got some new stuff planned that I didn't know was even still around, paintball.
Yeah, it's still around, and I think a lot of people are interested in that. So
The youth is, if we can keep that active and them involved, is a real key to just growing this town. So, thank you.
you're welcome.
Just a thought on the go-ahead issue that you have out there, besides using the kids to pick them all up.
Well, they step on and they take them home.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them slide in the second, and they were.
We can go heads under thighs.
Yeah, they were rough.
Oh,
Like felt or piece of that netting or stuff that you guys had piled up there by the dumpster. Gotta strip that out and just try to drag it through there to get it down.
And just-
Or that foam insulation for pipes, you get like an inch.
Okay.
If you put it on a piece of pipe and just roll it through there, it'll
You know, I
be
never
surprised
thought
how
about
much
that.
they'll pick up a bunch.
Okay, I never thought about that.
Before those turn into more next year.
Yeah, we try to get there,
If it starts raining.
yeah.
Nothing before you go ahead, just to kill the plant.
They're, no, you have to wait till after fall season,
Mhm.
because It's, the chemical that they use is,
It's too strong.
them kids be yellow.
Yeah, and we try to get there before and then sometimes after the season to get target that, like you said, and try to get it. But with the stuff that I have, it's only me and my 2 part-times, and then as soon as that finished, we had to start collecting uniforms. We had to start, getting ready for the next sport, and it's just kind of like a non-stop thing.
And I understand, that's why I was just giving you them pointers. 'cause
Yeah, but now that we have this extra guy, and I never thought about that, so he's gonna start working on it, and we're gonna try that. And see
It'll
if
help,
that
you won't
will
get
help.
them all, but just get rid of them,
Mhm.
it's gonna take a real big plan to get rid of
Right.
those out of there.
The other thing too that I wanna do is put some kinda, I don't know, plywood or something around the fences on the west side, because all the sand blows into the infield, and sometimes the kids are trying to take off running, and they're spinning more than what they actually run. So I'm finding ways to try to block the sand as much as I can from blowing in there, since it's an open field on this side, on the east side actually. West side, yeah. So that's the other plan that I have to do there too. And we'll probably target those plays starting next week.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime.
Good evening, council. Just wanted to touch on a little bit what Mr. Trujillo had stated. Just so you're aware that the judge has been doing a lot more of the community service, and just a number to keep in mind. Last year, between January and June, we paid Rio Grande County Jail $23,577. This year, between January and June, we've paid them $90. So, I just wanted to give you that number. So, a huge difference.
Did you have a thought on anything with them paying fines? Does it sound like it's,
We have, actually, the fines, the collecting of fines has increased here at the city as well. People aren't afraid to come to court. They come, the judge works with them, city attorney works with them. I work with them on payment plans, they're getting things paid. We're really not having issues with things not being paid right now.
Sounds much smoother.
It
and
is.
Positive, much more positive.
It is very much positive. And it runs a lot smoother. Like Mr. Trujillo said, we don't have, 60 people in here and 20 people running through the halls at City Hall. We have 10, 15, would you say, for us, maybe at the most, that come in and go, and then a couple in and out, and so it's much smoother. So I just wanted to give you that number. The real reason I wanted to do a report this evening is we have a sale of a liquor store in town, and I wanted to introduce you to the new buyers of Southwest Liquor. And they're going to do a transfer from Mr. Trujillo to, I would like to introduce you to Michael and Tabitha Valdez. They are purchasing Southwest Liquors, and I just wanted to inform council that the transfer paperwork is in. They have completed all their state requirements and all their local requirements. Their background checks are going through, so I'll be sending in their paperwork to the state. And I just wanted to let you all know that that transfer will be taking place, and I will be issuing them a temporary permit so they can open the doors of business for them on Sunday.
Great, congratulations.
Thanks.
All right. Welcome to town.
Any questions?
were you gonna do a report on Kids Connection too?
No.
Just not told.
No. She actually will be giving a report at the next council meeting.
You guys don't have a report?
Not this time, sir.
There's
They're just here to look pretty.
a Crime Stoppers meeting on the 19th at 4, and it'll be in the police building. Yeah, that one. It may move to here, but we didn't have as many people, so we just sat around the round table in there. But, a little update on that, we're working on marketing, trying to kind of get a logo going. There is an original logo, but trying to get that a little switched up so it's more original to us. And then, national registration, they're working on getting that to go through. I think it actually should have gone through possibly already. Nikki was working on that. And then I think we're potentially working on getting some signs or banners, stuff like that out to get people aware of what Crime Stoppers is. And then potentially working on getting somebody to go to training actually for Crime Stoppers, which I think will happen in September. So, just an update.
Very good.
If anybody wants to go, 4 p.m.
And what day did you say, the 19th?
The 19th, it's on a Tuesday.
What time?
4. I think it's at 4 later.
Mayor.
On Tuesday.
Tuesday, 4 p.m.
Everybody 4? Okay. The 19th, yeah, don't forget that.
I was just thinking that I could have them removed.
Yeah, try and get your wife to touch that one.
So, well, welcome,
Thank you,
congratulations.
thank you.
It is really cool.
Any other council committee, you guys have anything? Before we go into executive session?
I have something. I have been visiting with Jeff quite a bit out at the dog shelter. And I just want to tell him and let everyone know what a bang-up job he's doing. He's bringing in animals, he's making a huge effort. He also brings in some corrections kids and some, or who are those kids, Jeff? Tell me.
That's actually Judge Dollars, the community service people.
Yes, it's another caveat that Nita maybe didn't talk about and Mike hasn't talked about. They're coming out and helping at the animal shelter, and you know, Jeff picks them up and brings them out, and they do. It's not very clean work, I can tell you that. You can only imagine with 30 to 40 dogs and some cats too. But yeah, I just want to commend him. He's just done a good job and gone kind of beyond what our normal ordinance officer does. And I hear good things about him from other folks in the community, and I just want to tell him, good job. I know you didn't like that.
They're all lying.
I know you didn't like that, but I wanted to let everybody know. It's so nice to see those kids come out with you and they get out of the truck and he's got them well versed on what they're going to be doing, and he watches them and he makes sure that they get that job done. And like I said, it's not always a really nice job. So thank you. The shelter thanks you. And I'm sorry the chief isn't here to hear that, but I know he'll watch the video. Right?
I'm just glad people stepped up and donated dog food, because as she'll tell you, they're pretty short. And if you looked on Facebook, Antonito and all these other places, dogs aren't fed, they're not healthy, so.
Right, and the city, I wanted to thank the city, and Azrael's not here, for donating. They brought out 2 great big bags of dog food. Very good dog food. We were getting the really cheap kind from Walmart, and that was overwhelming. I was in Walmart, I took some of my own money and a little bit from the shelter, and I was down there purchasing dog food because we were at 0 kibble. And I was looking on Facebook, and all these people on Facebook said, I just bought 4 bags, wait at Walmart. I just bought it online, don't leave yet. And then I actually did a dog food deal out in the parking lot at Walmart. and this guy said, well, I'm there, I'm gonna bring some out, where are you? And I said, well, come on, I'm out here in aisle 6, you know. So we were out there shoving dog food in my car, but I actually went home with about 600 pounds of dog food from that on Facebook, and then a few other people brought dog food in. And it sounds like a ton of dog food, but when you feed them twice a day, and we are at capacity right now, we've got about 30, it'll, by next month, we'll be needing more. And we do purchase some of our own, but I was just so thankful. It was just overwhelming, the response from people, not even, a lot of people from the valley, but there are a lot of people from like Pennsylvania. We had one lady from Pennsylvania get the Walmart in Alamos and bought 4 bags online. And I mean, people are just so nice. So, another good thing. And thank you, Jeff was I understand at the Coffee with the Co-op, and he was encouraging people to purchase food and help us out. So, if anybody needs a pit bull, we've got a few. Just saying.
And Jeff provided help for the garden group and some community service kids, and they made short order out of what needed done, and that was really helpful.
Isn't it great? It's a good program,
Yes.
and I appreciate him stepping out of the box and pushing that, so.
Well, to go along with that, I was curious if I might mention something to council with all the work that Jeff's doing. Previously, it's been talked about an ordinance regarding the shipping containers in Monte Vista. And the previous council decided that was a good thing and that people could do that in their yards. And I think that's fine because I wouldn't mind having one. But I was curious what you guys might think about direction for the employees to look at an ordinance where if they're gonna bring one in, maybe it needs to be painted to match the property. Or the structure so that they're not the bright green and orange around town and the land and sea labels and things like that. And as we're talking about beautifying, changing how the community looks and cleaning things up. So that's a thought that I had. And maybe the staff could look into something along those lines.
Yeah,
You know, I got some, right?
yes, I'm quite aware of that, sir.
Briefly, I spent most of last week in Keystone, of all places, at a Communities of Care, CTC. Every time that we get involved with something like that, my main thrust is awareness and getting people aware of what's going on. Community involvement is what that whole process works based on, and we just need to know. There will be more. We'll be doing more about that, but it's almost exclusively about the youth. It's about community involvement, but it's about reaching the youth and solving a lot of the problems that kids are encountering when they get to middle school and high school long before that ever happens. And getting them involved in actually facilitating leadership programs. There's just an awful lot. I could go on and on with that, but we'll be getting some more dissemination of information out about that. Kim from the Recreation Department was one that had attended with us. And so she got a lot of good information that relates to, that's why I was talking to Jaime about some of the stuff that they're doing with the kids. A couple of other things, I've been meeting with the city manager regarding a couple of issues that, several, but one or two that we discussed RV parking in town, for instance, and what are the possibilities about that. To get any ideas about that, I would certainly be open to some input. We're looking at a couple of options. It's all very preliminary right now, but are we?
It's an amber alert.
Your time's up.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, that causes an amber alert. That's just awful. In any case, it is preliminary, and I welcome any ideas, emails on the website, of course, and whatever. But that's, if you have any thoughts or ideas about that, certainly be open to that. One of the other things that came up, and this is just in closing, that we're talking about rehab around town and the URA and all of that. One of the eyesores that unfortunately in town just happens to be City Hall. So what I wanted to do, and city manager suggested I just bring this up to get a head nod or some approval from the council, just to instruct staff to look into what it's going to take to fix up, at least starting with the front, and some of the worst parts of it's over on this side of the building, and get some kind of general idea. He and I discussed some options, but it needs to be looked at. We need to start, and what I'm thinking is not so much taking something out of the budget, yeah, probably some, but what I'm really thinking is a group of citizens that would want to get together and start right here with beautifying this town. So with the council's approval, I would simply, I don't want to start anything officially, but I would like to request the city staff to at least look into what is going to be required, because there's some issues out there that aren't, you can't just go in there and power wash the thing and it's going to be all right. The stucco and who knows what else is going to come loose. So that's my request, is just to instruct the city staff to look into some options of what it is, what actually is involved. Then we can start getting some community involvement and maybe get that taken care of. So, any agreement on that?
I think that's a very good idea. I mean, I don't personally think it looks that bad out here, but I know that there's some cleanup that could happen.
May I suggest that if you do have to hire somebody, maybe have the help of the city attorney here, to talking with Judge Zollers maybe. What I love is, I love dealing with the kids. Kids obviously can't climb the roof, the kids can't do this, they can't do that liability. But the ones that are above age, maybe if you had to hire a company, say like a painting company, if you use the people for community service that have to do something, Lord knows maybe they learn a trade. And use them to cut down the cost to either scrape the walls, paint, whatever you gotta do.
Sure, absolutely. And I was more concerned with just initially, at least, just getting some kind of an idea of what actually does need to be done. It's more than just paint, but
Well,
we
it's
want
used to
to
go get it, so on that side, that
do it right.
wall over there, you make a huge difference, I can tell you that.
I'm not opposed to that either, I'm just concerned that we have the short staff that we have, that they'd have time to do that kind of research right now.
Might take us a few weeks, but we can look into it.
Do some assessment out there.
I like Jeff's suggestion, made me think of Tom Sawyer. So, if anyone's old enough to remember who Tom Sawyer was.
Whitewash that fence.
Yeah, whitewash that fence.
Yeah, whitewash, anything.
Victor, did you have anything? Is that it, Greg?
Yeah, I was going to mention Coffee with the Cop, but we kind of brought that up. I was there at that recent meeting, and Chief is on vacation, but the staff that's here ran a very productive meeting, as it always is, and I appreciate the input and just the whole idea of having that monthly meeting.
Victor?
Nothing?
Well, I appreciate everybody that's here tonight. Thank you again for coming. Also, just stay diligent in the community. Got a lot of stuff going on in the summer, it's warming up, so pay attention to your surroundings. Everybody, and all that you're doing, and pay attention to what's going on in your neighbors.
Listen,
That's really all I got.
that biker thing's going on this weekend, so there's gonna be a lot of,
Thunder in the Valley.
this, when is the ninth?
Next week.
Okay.
we get a break.
So watch out for everybody, yeah.
Right, yeah, they'll be next weekend. That's gonna be pretty cool.
And everybody patronize our new liquor store.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. This weekend, liquor store, next week, Tiger.
Not wait until Sunday, just so you know.
Actually, we're closed on Sunday. Just this week, for inventory purposes, yeah, we'll be closed Sunday, but other than that.
There you go.
Get thirsty at the liquor store.
Executive session.
Yeah. What do you want? I move.
No.
Ready? I make a motion that we enter into executive session for CRS 24-64024F, personnel matters. I second that.
Been moved and seconded. So we go into executive session. Can you vote on that? We just go, yeah, Nita, or, excuse me, is there any more discussion? Nita?
Counselor Johnson?
Aye.
Counselor Sabella?
Aye.
Counselor Ellsworth?
Aye.
Counselor Lorenz?
Aye.
Mayor Becker?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're gonna go into executive session. It's Thursday, June 7th. The time is 7:30. For the record, I am presiding officer, Mayor Becker. As required by the open meetings law, this executive session is being electronically recorded. All present. Also present at this executive session are the following persons: Kathy Lorenz, Kathy Ellthorpe, Gary Johnson, Victor Segala, Forrest Newberg, Mike Trujillo, Anita Vance. I caution each participant to confine all discussion in the stated purpose of the executive session, that no formal action may occur in the executive session. If at any point in the executive session any participant believes that the discussion is going outside the proper scope of the executive session, please interrupt the discussion and make an objection.
Short recess, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Recess, what? You're right, recess.